Welcome back to West Texas View.
We've been talking with Judy Warren and Patti DeFrance about MAAS, Midland, Odessa Area Aids Support Group. And they both introduced themselves in the first segment about how they got and were so passionate about the work they're doing with AIDS, HIV. And Judy got involved in it a long, long time ago, before most of us even knew what AIDS, HIV meant. And because her brother contracted the disease. And so would you tell us that story? Even though you've told us in a previous program, it is such a gripping story that I want to hear again.
I would love to. I actually started MAAS not knowing not seeking that out or anything, but I started it 6 months after he died because I wanted to show people that AIDS does not just happen to bad people. We had a great family. Our parents raised us with good morals and values and had us in church every Sunday and Wednesday and all of that. And my brother was wonderful. I brought this picture of my brother on his wedding day. He was through with college then. He was already running a large corporation in Houston, Texas. He was very brilliant and wonderful. Before he got married, he almost became a minister. He spent all of his time around the church when he went to college and everything. So I wanted to put a face to this, but mostly God called me to it. I resisted at first, but then God equipped me and gave me a voice. But I wanted to show people that AIDS happens to
everybody.
It doesn't care if you're good, bad, yellow, brown, white, you know, educated, uneducated. It does not care at all. He was wonderful, and when I talk to the kids, I tell them what my brother did. He loved his wife, but after a year she wanted a divorce and he didn't. She wanted to party and he wanted to settle down and have kids and everything. She was from England, so she went back to England where she could just live her life. That broke his heart. And when I talk to the kids, I say, when you have someone break up with you or tell you they don't ever want to see you again, how does that feel?
They don't love you anymore.
Oh, and they, you know, that's just the worst pain in this world. So for a small, brief time in my brother's life, I watched my brother go out and stay out all night and get drunk and make some wrong choices. Just a brief period of his life.
And wrong choices can last a lifetime.
Oh, well, he made one wrong choice with one beautiful young lady who didn't know she had HIV, because you can have HIV in your body for years.
10 years, I've heard.
Yeah, it can be 4, 8, 10, 12 years with no symptoms. And she gave him that teeny tiny virus. Now, before we learned that he had this, after his wife left him, I sat him down one day. This is a true story, and I tell the kids this when I talk to them. But I sat Larry down one day because we were almost too close. We were just soulmates and finished each other's sentences all the time and all of that. And I said, Larry, I don't know what you're doing when you go out and spend these nights, and I don't need to know, but I'm hearing about something called AIDS, and it kills you, and you get it, of all things, through sex. I knew he wasn't doing drugs. And I said, I need to know that you just don't take any chances, because if anything happened to you, they'd have to dig a hole next to your grave and put me right in it. I wouldn't be able to stand it. And I know a lot of the people listening today feel the same way about their kids, their grandkids. You know, they just wouldn't be able to stand it. That's how close we were. And I'll never forget his words to me on that day. He said, oh, Judy.
Don't worry.
He said, quit fretting. You know, you're such a worrywart. Quit fretting about me, you know. He said, I'm not a baby, you know. I'm in my 20s. I know the things to do and the things not to do. But he didn't. Did he? He didn't know the things to do and not to do. This picture was taken just a few years after this picture. And that shows you the devastation that AIDS does to someone.
But it didn't show also the heartbreak in between and how he was harassed and had to hide and didn't have any support.
It didn't show the suffering. Between this picture and this picture that was taken about 2 months before he died, he went totally blind. In this picture, he's actually totally blind, and because the virus entered his eyes, the CMV virus, and he also lost his brilliant mind. After this picture was taken, even though we were out in a courtyard at the hospital on a hot day, Larry said, "Well, why doesn't somebody turn a light on in here?" And my mother and I looked at each other and I said, "Honey, you're outside. Can't you feel the hot sun on your face and the breeze?" And he just hung his head and told the nurse, "I just want to go back to my bed right now." So this is agonizing for families to watch their babies go through this. He also had a stomach tube because his esophagus closed up, so he couldn't go buy a hamburger and eat it without almost choking to death. He had to get liquid food. He also had a tube in his chest where he had to get his medicines. Almost died twice with pneumocystis pneumonia. Had to be on a breathing machine for a month and a half each time, thinking that he was going to die. We all did, but he was a fighter, and he pulled through. But families go through so much. In the middle of watching my brother go through this, my mother and I both got cancer. The doctors told me that my cancer was such a rare cancer that it was no doubt the strain and the stress. And mine is not the type that is cured after 5 years. So I will have to go to Houston, Texas every year for the rest of my life to undergo cancer tests.
But from that personal, very, very personal experience, you learn the agony and almost the hopelessness at that time of the problem. And then you began to say, what can I do to educate? What can I do to help other people that are going through this, other families? And so that's when you created this support group. Then you began educating, working with the public schools, working with private schools, working with youth groups to start the education process. Talk to us a little bit about that.
All I ever wanted to do was to start a little support group for families because we had no one to talk to. And we both got cancer.
And you were shunned by your neighbors and everybody else.
We feared for our lives, and this is something people need to know today. My mother actually died a short time after my brother.
We're going to have to take another break. I'm sorry, but we'll be right back. Join us then.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.